United States has increased by over 250%, and diabetes by almost 700%. A number that I believe should frankly scare us all silly. So the question is, as it has always been, is this thinking and advice simply wrong, or are we just not following it? The other faction, the heretics, make their claims very often in the context of what the experts dismiss as fad diet books. These books offer up a very different proposition from the conventional thinking on healthy eating. While the authorities are telling us that if we eat as they propose, we will prevent or delay the eventual onset of chronic disease and live longer and healthier by doing so. These diet book doctors are claiming to be able to reverse chronic disease, including obesity, rather than prevent it. We should try their approach, these books imply, and see if it works. Does it help us achieve and maintain both health and a healthier weight? If it does, we can reasonably assume that it will lead as well to a longer and healthier life. Heresy be damned. The authors of these books claim to have confidence that their approach works, but we don't have to accept their words on faith. Some of their advice is contradictory, so clearly it can't all work. But if we can take their advice and get healthier and leaner by doing so, then each of us can decide if the consensus of medical opinion is right for us, and perhaps at all. The authors of these books almost invariably started their careers as practicing physicians, and many still are. Almost invariably, they say they struggled with their own excess weight, but freed themselves from the conventional thinking long enough to delve into the research literature and seemingly solve the problem. They had what the journalist and best-selling author Malcolm Gladwell called in a 1998 New Yorker article in precisely this context, a conversion experience. They found a way to eat that made it easy to achieve a healthy weight and then to maintain it. Then they tried it on their patients, and it worked, or so they claimed, and they wrote books about it, and the books often became bestsellers. These books are commonly based on a single fundamental assumption, sometimes implicit, sometimes explicit. We get fat, not because we eat too much, but because we eat carbohydrate-rich foods and drink carbohydrate-rich beverages. The culprits specifically are sugars, grains, and starchy vegetables. For those who fatten easily, these carbohydrates are the reason they do. One powerful implication of these diet books is that obesity is caused not by eating too much, but by a hormonal imbalance in the body that eating these carbohydrate-rich foods triggers. It's a very different way of thinking about why we accumulate excess fat. It demands a very different approach to prevention and treatment. Many, if not most, of the popular best-selling diets of the past 40 years, Atkins, Keto, Paleo, South Beach, Dukan, Protein Power, Sugar Busters, Whole30, Wheat Belly, and Grain Brain, are or at least include variations on this simple theme. Specific carbohydrate-rich foods create a hormonal milieu in the human body that works to trap calories as fat rather than burn them for fuel. At the very simplest level, if we want to avoid being fat or return to being relatively lean, we have to avoid these foods. They are quite literally fattening. Physicians now commonly refer to this way of eating as low carbohydrate, high fat, LCHF. At its extreme, it excludes virtually all carbohydrates other than those in green leafy vegetables and the tiny proportion in meat, and is technically known as ketogenic, hence keto for short. I'll typically refer to it as LCHF ketogenic eating to capture both concepts. The term has the great disadvantage of failing in any way to be catchy. It trips off no tongues. But it does have the advantage of being precise and inclusive in its meaning. When I began my journalistic investigation into the convergence of diet, obesity, and chronic disease 20 years ago, perhaps a few dozen physicians in the world were openly prescribing LCHF ketogenic eating to their patients. Today, this philosophy and dietary prescription have been.
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.